beautiful online babes, welcome back to my bedroom and my channel. So just to make it easy for you guys, I will include timestamps in the description box. That way you can click these and just be taken to the topic that you want to hear the most in regards to this video. Or you could just watch through all of this and learn everything. Otherwise, timestamps are down below. And yeah, let's proceed with the video. So first and foremost, I wanted to just invite you all to check out a podcast that I did with a high school friend of mine. His name is Rob, and the podcast is called I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. I agreed to do this podcast, and actually this podcast inspired me to create this video for you guys. He has a 10-month-old daughter, and he wanted to really understand and dive deeper with what the trans experience is like, and he also wanted me to answer a few of his questions. So if you'd like to check that podcast out, I will link it down below. Feel free to take a listen. It's about an hour long, but we cover a wide range of topics. So if you don't already know, I am a trans girl living in Vancouver, Canada. I started my transition 5 years ago in 2015. I medically transitioned late 2014, meaning I started taking hormones or hormone replacement therapy, specifically testosterone blockers and estrogen. Well, now that it has been 5 years for me, I am taking spironolactone, which is my testosterone blockers. So these block the male hormones which my body naturally develops because I have not undergone sexual reassignment surgery, and as of now I have no plans to do so. And in turn, to substitute all the testosterone that's being blocked by spironolactone, I am taking estradiol, which is practically estrogen, so that my body emulates and essentially is more female. So I take 3 of these gigantic pills, and I'm just going to show you what they look like. So I take 3 of these every day. And for my estrogen, I take 3.5. Oops. I take 3.5 of these bad boys every day along with my blockers. So this was happening late 2013, early 2014. So I asked my mom to see if my aunt knew of any doctors in our area that I could speak to, that I could come out to, because I wanted to express my willingness to undergo a medical transition from male to female. So during this period, I had called in sick to work quite a couple of days because of my mental health. I wasn't doing well, so I wanted to speak to him and come out essentially that I was trans and I wanted to get on hormones. So to not drag the story on, I came out to this doctor, and all he did was laugh in my face, practically, and kind of like just giggle to himself and be like, "Oh, you're probably just gay." And I was really taken aback by this because I had mustered up the courage to come out to a complete stranger that I thought I could trust, considering he was in the medical field. But needless to say, this was in late 2013, so I don't think people were as educated on how to handle patients like myself back then. And so this doctor kind of like just snickered and told me, like, "You're probably just gay. Have you told your mom that you're gay? Because that'll solve all of your issues." So what this doctor practically did was disregard my coming out as trans, and he just told me to like suck it up and come out to my mom. But funny enough, my mom already knew I was gay at that point. So I ended up just asking for a doctor's note for all those days that I missed at work, and that was practically the end of it. So after this unfortunate incident, it kind of lit a fire under my butt, because I was not going to let a bad experience with a inexperienced doctor, or a doctor that was just not open-minded enough to realize how grave the situation was. So what I did was I went online, I researched clinics or LGBT specific clinics that I could drop into or make an appointment with. Luckily for me back then, this was I think in early 2014, I found this practice called the Catherine White Hormone Wellness Center. I think I'm saying that right, but I don't think it exists anymore. However, they were like a non-profit organization that catered to LGBT youth. So I booked an appointment with a non-profit group. I spoke to a nurse. Immediately, I felt really safe in this environment. The nurses themselves were members of the LGBTQIA+, and also in the kind of common room, the weight room, where a lot of volunteers kind of ran their activities, and also a lot of patients were waiting for their appointments. I could already get the sense that this was the place to be because it was just a room of acceptance, a room of individuals and unique individuals. And so I knew immediately I was in the right place to be. So essentially what they had told me during this first meeting was I had to be put on a wait list to see a specialist. So the specialist was again either a volunteer or part of the nonprofit group, I'm not too sure. However, I was on a wait list for around 6 to 9 months. And let me tell you, those were some very trying times mentally because I was just so anxious and I just wanted to get on hormones ASAP. And I was slowly losing hope because initially they had told me 6 months for the wait list. And when 6 months crept up, I was in constant email exchanges with the organization, and they had said there was just a few delays, scheduling, and also the volume of people that they were seeing. So eventually I managed to get my second appointment with them, and this was with a nurse slash specialist slash endocrinologist. I'm not actually too sure, sorry, it's been a while. But what they had done is they offered to take my blood work and do all my tests and exams. And then when I scheduled for a third meeting, that was going to be the time that I received my first batch of hormones. So November 2014 was when I started popping my pills. And that's when I also slowly started feeling changes, slowly but surely. So once that third appointment finally came a few weeks later on, I just got a very small dose of testosterone blockers. That's initially the first thing I got prescribed to see how my body took to the blockers and how low my testosterone would get. Once that finished up and I was due for our next cycle, I went back, they checked my levels through my blood work, and then they upped my dosage for the testosterone blockers, and then they slowly introduced estrogen to my prescription. And then in early 2015, they then suggested I go to find my own general practitioner or doctor because I had started living downtown in downtown Vancouver. So lucky for me, there was a clinic called Three Bridges Clinic, which catered to trans patients specifically, as well as other unique patients. So from 2015 up until 2019, this was my main clinic, and they catered to all my needs, and that included STI testing, any sort of needs that I needed medically. It was great because it was a very safe space for me. I didn't feel awkward or weird like it is to be in a regular heteronormative or walk-in clinic or even a lab. Up until last year, the clinic eventually reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in finding a specific doctor or a general doctor to kind of preside over my medical stuff. So they had suggested, because I was mainly coming for just hormones and not much else, that I just get a doctor, a general practitioner in downtown Vancouver, that could just give me refills and so on and so forth. Luckily, again, they referred me to a LGBTQ centric clinic, which is called Spectrum Health here in Vancouver. So I'm super lucky that I got in with them, but again, they cater to gay men and trans clients. So I was super grateful for that. And yeah, so that was my journey for acquiring my hormones. It's been a long journey and it's been a lot of money. So lucky for me, over the years I've had jobs that offered benefits that allowed myself to get my hormones at a cheaper price. And so I'm super grateful that that was the case. Now, as for my hormones and its effects on me, yes, there are side effects. There are a lot of side effects. I didn't experience all side effects, however, I did experience some. So over the course of the 5 years that I've been taking hormones, the most mood swings I got were definitely during the first 2 years. It was almost like your brain adjusting to the estrogen and adjusting to the lower levels of testosterone. I like to say, before hormones, before estrogen and blockers, the way I thought as a male, it's like looking down a corridor or a hallway and seeing multiple doors on the side, and that's your thought process essentially. It's very straightforward. There's, little choices on the side, easy breezy. My thought process as a female now, with all these hormones pumped into me, it's almost like you're in a circular room with a lot more doors and a spiral staircase in the middle that leads up to another floor with more doors. It's almost like it's woken up a different side of my brain, wherein I'm so much more aware, hyper aware, and so much more conscious of every little detail, which is not a bad thing whatsoever. That being said, I did notice more emotions. I'm so much more emotional. I cry. With movies, I cry. Like TV shows, I cry. Whereas prior to that, I was not a crier whatsoever. I'm definitely so much more in tune and in touch with my emotions. And I really embrace that. If I need to cry, I'll cry. It's not even a big issue anymore. As for physical changes with hormones, I did get a small amount of breast growth. I was very flat prior to hormone replacement therapy. I was not anywhere close to filling an A cup, but considered an A cup. I did take progesterone, which is another female hormone that they develop during their periods. So there's not enough studies to prove that you get more breast growth with progesterone in your routine or your cycle of hormones. I added it on anyway to see if anything would happen. In my brain, in my head, I thought I got a little bit of growth doing progesterone for like a year or two, and this was maybe 4 years into my transition. And I took it for around a year and a half. And then I stopped progesterone once I got my top surgery, because I figured I was really only taking progesterone for more growth. But because I had already gotten silicone in me, I decided I didn't really need to keep going with that. So getting off progesterone, I had to adjust to another cycle of weeks of kind of waning off of it. So I endured a lot more mood swings last year, but now I'm back to normal. I'm back to handling my emotions. We are good. Now that I've been 5 years into my transition and using hormones, I like to say my libido, my sex drive, it's very chill. She's just like chill, If I want to, I want to. If not, it's not a big deal. I can just lay back and listen to music or stare at the wall. So again, just a disclaimer guys, I am just sharing my experience with hormones and what changes and what effects it's given me. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this, please comment below and say yes, more videos like this, and I can definitely share more about my experience and what I go through as a trans female. That being said, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, like, ring the bell, all that jazz, and follow me on social media to see what I'm up to every single day. I really appreciate everyone that has supported me over the years, and also everyone on my online family that has stuck with me and watched every video and also liked every photo of mine. I love you all. Thank you for being with me, and until the next video guys, stay safe, I love you, stay positive, and it gets better. So take care. Mwah.